Good evening, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun, and thank you everybody who have been helping me subscribing to my channel, sharing with family and friends. We are talking about the cost of living crisis in the UK, the kind of help now being given by the government of the United Kingdom to the British people. And today we are going to talk about income maximization, which actually means many things to many people. Generally, it means, for example, getting the money you are entitled to by in benefit. It also means actually getting more from your work in terms of pay, perhaps improving yourself and getting a better job. It may also mean doing more work, jobs, maybe doing 2 or 3 jobs in 1 week, and it also means cutting costs. Cutting on if you used to spend maybe 300 to 400 pounds per month, perhaps £500 a month on groceries, you may need to continue downsizing and cutting costs. If you're living in a bigger house, it may mean actually moving into a smaller property, especially if you are in a council flat, a council housing, and you're probably living in a 4 or 5 bedroom house. You may have to consider downsizing because the rent would be higher, the council tax would be higher, the cost of eating the property, water bills will be higher. If you're on benefit, you may experience problems such as bedroom tax. If you have non-dependent adult children, they are your children, but they have grown now to 16 years and they are not in full-time education, and maybe 18 years, perhaps 21, and now they're in university. If they're on holiday, they might incur non-dependent deduction from your benefit. There are a whole host of situations involving benefit and income from work, and also income from work, including employment and self-employment. If you are a small and medium business, you may have to consider, improving on your profit, cutting costs. Cutting costs means many things to many people. Efficiency is important in the modern society. The cost of living is an income-related problem, is related to poverty. If you watch the rest of my video on the topic, we have only been speaking about the cost of living. Cost of living is an indication of what happens in society. The cost of living as a crisis is very important, but what it represents is more important. So it is actually necessary that you become an expert on the cost of living crisis. It's an opportunity for you to understand what happened in the country, with the government, with policy, and with the state of our communities. And watch the rest of the video in this one. Thank you again for those who have been helping. We're going to look specifically, like I said in the previous video, when we look at policies, we look at England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland to make the United Kingdom. But like I said previously also, policies in England and Wales are similar. In Scotland is significantly different, and also Northern Ireland being different from one from another. But these are actually the United Kingdom perspectives, which are actually similar to one another, but also to what happens in Europe. United Kingdom being in Europe, what happened in the UK is necessarily similar to what happened in Europe, America, and also Asia and Africa, because we are globalized countries, we are globalized world. So if I talk about the cost of living in the United Kingdom, pay close attention if you are in any of the continent, including Europe, America, Asia, and Africa. Also, if you watch the rest of my video, you will discover that at the outset of my dispensing, are actually indicated in the UK for people to visit government website and also the website of your local government, local authorities, and also the big charitable organization like Citizen Advice and similar ones. Talking about benefit, talking about debt, talking about housing, and talk about employment, healthcare, and many others, including migration, because all these things are connected when you're dealing with the cost of living. And immigration is extremely important because at food bank, for example, foreign students are actually allowed by food bank to access help for food from the food bank. And I don't know what else they are allowed. You can check if they are allowed to get something called fuel bank also. Because generally, foreign students have no recourse to public funding in terms of immigration policy, which means they are not entitled to, they are not eligible to for a benefit. They are not supposed to get public funding. This is also a government policy which has developed recently, and all these policies now are changing, which is consistent with privatization. Privatization is also related to closing down the public sector. And if you look at the rest of my video, you will also discover that the cost of living crisis has become a crisis mainly because privatization, which means the government have already shut down, as it has already shut down the public sector, which is actually designed to provide a private service. When the government tells this country it is providing public service, it is actually not telling the full truth, or actually its information lack accuracy significantly. Because if you privatize to shut down the public sector, privatizing the same, you are literally incapacitated in your ability to provide public service. And it is actually a myth to also actually promote dishonesty, political dishonesty, to tell the British people the private sector are actually providing public service. Gas and electricity, including water, are actually public services, a form of public service, because they are actually essential. Housing is a form of public service because it involves essentiality. Food and healthcare, public transport, and also employment, especially the minimum wage. But also the idea to regulate the private companies which provide basic essential like employment, healthcare, and also housing. Governments in ideal situation should actually regulate this institution, given the government are actually abdicating on its duty of actually privatize these services, which it should not have. Now it has, and then there's no going back. It is a situation for the British people now to address and face the consequences of government failure in its capacity or its required capacity to provide public service. This is important, and I've been repeating this point over and again. And you ignore it at your own risk. And let us look at the benefit system in specifics. When you visit this website, it's about checking what is available. If you can claim benefits, because there is something called eligibility criteria. There's something called benefit checks, including benefit calculation. You can actually access the benefit calculation website to do a benefit calculation. Their website such as entitled to, which is one word, entitled to. That's the website you can use search and then fill out a form with information including your income and expenditure and other aspects of your life, including whether you are employed or self-employed, whether you're a student or a worker. There is also another one called Turn to Us. If you go online, government website, these are actually readily available. This information are readily available there, and also student advice, and also organizations such as for housing. I can't remember it now. Shelter. shelter is very important organization for housing if you are homeless. And all these are actually related to income, related to the cost of living crisis. And you can also check if you're being paid the right wages. If your employer isn't paying you the correct amount of money, you can check if there are deductions from your wages, which even they are correct or not. These are all issues to do with income maximization. You can actually check if you are paying the right amount of tax, because you have to pay tax in the UK and national insurance contribution. If you have recently lost your job, you need to really pay attention to reporting these changes, change of circumstance in the UK to get benefit. If you lose your job, you make sure that if you have £16,000 in your saving, then you can actually apply for benefit. And provided you don't have any other investments, such as maybe property or any such investment. And also, provided you have lost your job, you don't have saving, you go to apply for universal credit straight away. Or actually, if you're a pensioner, you'll probably get to apply for pension credit if you're not entitled to state pension. There is the guaranteed component of the pension credit, and I've discussed it in the other videos, and I'll be discussing it again going forward. And you can also check if you have children. If you have children, you may need something called child tax credit or working tax credit if you work and you meet a certain condition of benefit, and you can no longer now claim certain new benefit, such as job seekers allowance or employment support allowance if you're sick. These are all that have changed. They've become universal credit, different elements of universal credit. And you need to understand that it's an opportunity for you to learn to know the nature of benefits in the UK. These are all factors on income. So you can check if you can get help with your energy bills. We have already discussed this in the other videos in fair details, but we are repeating it here because we are talking about income maximization, which is actually getting whatever help is available from here or from wherever. Check if you can get help from your local council. There are all sorts of help, including food bank, energy bank, including household goods, including other payments associated with the cost of living crisis, household support funds, and all those. There are so many. Visit your local council website to find that. Find other ways to get more money, such as looking for extra job, doing extra jobs. I've already mentioned this in the opening. And thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel and support it. Share with family and friends and colleagues at work. And support this channel. Be an ambassador of the channel and leave a comment below. Let us take a conversation. We are actually work in progress, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And thank you, YouTube, for giving me this opportunity, and also the people who have been with me all along. And now we are making progress. I'm so excited about this. Thank you so much for your help, as always. And so, like I said, you can actually increase your income, maximizing your income by claiming benefits or government grants if you think you might be entitled to. And you can also check if you're being paid the right wages. Like I said, you're getting help. You can try and see if you can get help from charities. And also, you can also rent out your room if you have more rooms in your homes. These are some of the suggestions. This is some of the support being given by the government. Go to government website and all the other charities. It's useful pieces of information and advice, and also ideas about how to maximize your income. And you can rent out a room, which is an interesting concept. And it goes to show sometimes, you know, you need to really be creative, and I don't know how you're going to get people, strangers, into your home, renting your home out. You know, it's always, you know, I mean, you need to learn to take risks. But personally, I wouldn't really be comfortable to bring people into my home if I also live there. But you know, it can be done, and you can talk to a friend who can talk to a friend who knows somebody who is interested in a room. That is something interesting for me, but also leave a comment below if you think you can rent out a room. You can get something called child maintenance. Child maintenance means you are probably a single mother or a single father, and you have separated perhaps with your partner, your wife or husband, or just a partner. You are the child or children, and the other, you know, the parent with care, the parent caring for the child can ask the parent who is not actually caring for the child to pay money. And also this is now something the government actually make it obligatory for absent parent to pay money to the caring parent with children. So this is also a way of maximizing income. But all these are controversial because in practice, it is no, I mean, if people split, they just don't want to know. And normally these people are poor. If you are actually poor and on benefit, you can't really pay child maintenance. If I was the government and I wanted to help people, if somebody is actually a single mother or a single father, I pay them more benefit from the state. Do not waste your time unless they are millionaires or billionaires. This kind of policy is not really very helpful for people who are actually already suffering. And what if they're already in responsibility with a new relationship? It won't work. They're just there, but you know, just look at it. This is what the government is saying. You can do. I mean, the government is trying to be as creative as possible. And also check if you can claim benefit, like I said before. So as I said before, you can claim benefit if, in case you are on low income looking for work, if you are sick or disabled, because looking for work actually is a condition of claiming benefit. But there are other benefits you can also get if you are actually sick or disabled. The problem with sickness and disability benefit is impossible to get because of health assessment. Simple as that. So in practice, people don't actually claim this benefit. That's why I said in the other video that the government should stop wasting time making a benefit system so complicated. The government should pay one benefit and increase the level of benefit, period. And the government should also work with employers and also with the rich people of the country to get money from wealthy people to support the minimum wage, which should increase to a minimum at least of 20 or 30 pounds per annum after tax. This is from the top of my head, but if you are actually a normal person living in a normal country like Britain, you don't need an expert to tell you that 30,000 is reasonable. And the government, I know, tends to get help from advisors who are experts, like Pay Review Board. And when Pay Review Board tells you to put minimum wage at £10, ask them to go away. If you are a minister, if you are a government, actually tell the Pay Review Board to get away and actually fire them, because they don't know what they're talking about. They are ignorant, and such people are so incompetent that only the government with the similar level of incompetence can actually listen to such advisors. They don't know what they're talking about. If you want to talk to the MPs, who should talk to people who work for a living, who face the reality associated with the minimum wage. If you're an MP, ask yourself, if you pay yourself £10,000 per annum before tax or after tax, will you be able to live on that? If the answer is no, then it is nonsensical to actually suppose that it's good enough for somebody in this country to be paid £10,000. These are actually common sense, because if you are an MP, you are responsible for setting the minimum wage in this country, or the living wage, name it whatever you want. But if it is not good enough for you to live on £10,000, then you shouldn't even ask any expert unless you are an idiot. And I would like to see that the honourable member and the right honourable member at Westminster in Parliament are actually cleverer than that. And they allow funny or even stupid ideology to make them blind, to make them almost behave like people without brains. You don't need a peer review board to advise you on how much you should pay the British people minimally. Anybody would argue that £20 is the least you should pay anybody, and they still will be in poverty. If you got the objective of the government should get people out of poverty through work. The Conservative Party, which is running the country now, are repeatedly providing political rhetoric in what I believe to be the case, to say, we are trying to we will make work pay. That is a complete nonsense from a government which is actually clueless about what the minimum wage or the working at the level of the minimum wage, the level of benefit. You see, when you want to make work pay, but get the British people out of poverty by raising the level of the minimum level of benefit, and actually make benefit less complicated. Pay a single benefit, whether somebody is pensioner, whether they are a child, whether they are adults. One benefit. We don't need sickness benefit. You don't need things like widow's allowance. You don't need nonsense like that. You need to raise the level of benefit to £30,000 per annum for the British people, and the same with minimum wage. And then you are more likely than not to lift the British people out of poverty. Something else straightforward. You may argue that you want to deal with fraud. Invest more money to deal with fraud. Fraud has nothing to do with the low level of benefit. Fraud does not justify making benefit systems too complicated to be even accessed, let alone maintaining it. This level of unsustainability of benefit because of the complex process of maintaining benefit, of accessing it, is so appalling, is so rude for the British government to treat the British people like even the way the government is treating British people, keeping them deliberately in poverty, is actually the British people are being treated worse than dogs. Such a government the British people should never elect a government which keeps it. It doesn't matter which political party. You see, poverty in Britain should be eradicated in one term, not even 2 terms. It doesn't matter. The foreign officers should not go to sleep in Britain unless they negotiate with Europe, unless they negotiate with America and Asia and Africa. Africa, you don't need to negotiate them because Africa are directed from Europe. Because Africa is a very weak continent because it is not rich. So Africa should actually get more benefit from Europe, America, and Asia. These continents should actually look after Africa because they went there in the past and looted Africa during colonialism, during imperialism. Africa did not invite the European or Americans or whoever they were, Asians or whoever they were, but mainly Europeans, to colonize Africa and steal and loot the wealth from Africa and murder Africans. I'm not saying Africans are innocent, but you see, Africans were offended and they should be actually repaid. And the best repayment is actually to reintroduce a system of benefit, welfare state, including hospital, including minimum wage, working wage, pension. As I said, you don't need pension. You need benefit. For children, one benefit. It is income support for children, income support for adults, income support for sick people, for pensioners, whether they are widowed or not. Raise the level of the benefit. That would be enough. Get people out of poverty in Africa. Get people out of poverty in all the continents of the world. All these continents, all these countries should work as foreign relational partners. They meet every year to do conferences on climate change, to do conferences on development, economic development. The only thing they don't do is actually, they don't have a plan, deliberately failing to get the global citizens out of poverty. It has to be done this year. You see, if you have to be on, I don't know what it is, unnoticed, If world governments have to be put on notice that 5 years is the ultimatum, the maximum, we should wait to people remaining in poverty. We live in the world which is full of wealth, the world increasingly being run by technology. And this technology is producing wealth, and these wealth are actually being concentrated into the hands of the few who actually hold it. They even throw the wealth into fire, they destroy it by keeping it idle, excluding people deliberately from accessing wealth. I'm not asking the rich or even with their fellow rich in the government to get people into wealth. I will never say that because I know that will never happen. What can happen today and tomorrow? Get the global citizens, including in Africa. Stop this nonsense about immigration. Immigration is a myth. People travel. The British people go abroad. Politicians like the Conservative Party are now keen on using immigration as a political football to fool the British people to vote for them, thinking to create a false allegation that all the problem of public service, why it is failing, because foreigners are coming to get the money. That is wrong. That is actually a lie, and it is very stupid of the British government even to confuse the British people. It is actually fraud, political fraud, including New Labour, including the Liberal Democrat, which is now practicing a form of right-wing politics, which is very violent and very unnecessary. And the British people should not allow funny governments in Britain to fool them. If you allow the government to fool you thinking foreigners are coming here to take your money, then when you begin to suffer, the government is sending you into concentration camp because the government has sold off the country to private owners, not because immigrants. Okay? Because the government is so thick, the government actually lack intelligence to think that capitalism is better than socialism, or socialism is better than capitalism. There is nothing like capitalism. There is nothing like socialism. There is a country. If there is a system named socialism or capitalism, so be it. We know that now in practice, capitalism is running the world. This is actually an idea. If you implement it in a certain way, it creates wealth. It supports businesses. In essence, these are actually ideas. These are policy concepts. The practice actually, businesses are running society. They are producing economic growth. Private businesses. Public business could do the same thing with the help of technology, with the help of political will. Exactly what the private companies are doing now. Public companies can do it better. But somehow, the lunatics in Westminster in Britain, known as members of parliament or even ministers, have decided private sector is better than public sector, which is complete nonsense, because what private sector does is actually make things worse. He creates wealth, yes. He actually concentrates his wealth in the hands of the few. Public sector can do that. I mean, unless you are really on drugs, you're so drunk as an MP, you burn your head in the sun and think that there is a difference between private sector and public sector. There isn't. These are actually people working to produce wealth. And they use wealth to manage the country. Simple as that. You have made life so complicated. You are so violent. You are so ignorant. And the British people have a duty to learn the truth and tell this truth to politicians. The British people should learn to run their country by coming together, people who are suffering the cost of living, people who are not suffering the cost of living, including millionaires and billionaires who want peace in this country, should come and work together and tell the government what to do. And the government should stop playing cheap politics, very lazy type of politics on the British people, promoting violence. And if we allow this to happen, we take the responsibility. Watch the rest of my video, leave a comment below and let me know what you are thinking. So we have benefit relating to care. We don't need that. If you're a carer, you should find out if you can get benefit. There's something called care allowance. it's a very difficult benefit to deal with, because if you get care allowance, you get your other benefits reduced. You don't need things like that. If you're caring for somebody, you should get more benefit. If you're getting income support, and the government thinks if you're caring for somebody, you should get more benefit, then they should raise it up on top of if it's income support, one benefit, you increase the level, because somebody is a carer. If you think a carer is not worth to get more benefit, then you don't really confuse people. You don't tell people you can get a carer's allowance, but if somebody gets a carer allowance, you actually reduce the rest of the benefit, and this is creating confusion. It's so stressful to deal with benefit. Benefit is so complicated, and it should be shut down. And one benefit should actually operate in this country, including in England, Wales, and Scotland, as well as Northern Ireland. And devolution, if it is to mean more complexity, that devolution should be scrapped, should be eradicated. We should have the United Kingdom as a country with one type of council, with one type of policy covering the whole country. All this nonsense about, England and Wales after certain laws and policies, and Scotland having different this or nonsense or rubbish of that, and also Northern Ireland. What is wrong with people? You could even want a single policy in Europe, one size fits all, because we are after dealing about wealth, we are dealing about services. So one size fits all in Africa. You could have one policy for the rest of the globe. That's what globalization is trying to do. So why is Britain or even France or any of these countries confusing people? Oh, we are a sovereign state. We do things like sovereign state. And then within this sovereign state, you have different councils doing different things. Postcode lottery system of funding, which is a form of theft, a form of violence, and a type of murder. People are dying now. People are being sent into concentration camp of public libraries, and you name them. You sending people there because you think they're dogs. You have no respect. Some of these members of parliament or some of these politicians just have no respect for people. You see, they only respect wealth and money and power. I don't say we shouldn't respect. We should respect MPs. We should respect King Charles and the royal family. We should honor them, but they should respect us as well. They can't treat us as if we are dogs. Even dogs are respected in Britain more than poor people. And poor people actually are the majority. 90% of the population live in poverty, including the middle class. The middle class is a type of fake economy. And it's just a tactic of divide and rule by the state. Now the middle class are feeling good about their life, and they don't bother they don't care about their working class until they are fired from their work, until they become poor, jobless. And middle class workers, the so-called technocrats, are now losing their jobs. And some of them are committing suicide. We told you that being a middle class is nothing. You should come and join your fellow workers. Fix the roof while the rain, the sun is shining. You don't wait for a crisis such as the cost of living, and then you start running around like a headless chicken because you think you are a middle class. If you're also working class, you think you are British, more British than other people, or you are more white than some other people. I mean, if Africans are coming as immigrants, you think the government should send them away because they're the one creating problems for you. You are actually ignorant as British people, because British people go abroad and Africans treat them equally badly because of the ignorance of Africans. Or black people in Africa, they're ignorant, thinking that if the Europeans go there, they are going to grab their land. These people are fellow humans, they are visitors. Some of them have to be treated as guests with respect. If people visit your country, stop being rude. If you are an African, complaining about people visiting. We are in a modern world, we are supposed to be civil. Our backwardness in Africa is creating problems When white people go to Africa, black people are complaining. Why are they coming to us? They're coming to steal our wives or husbands. They're coming to steal our gold, diamonds. So what? We are actually a global family. And the same thing, if black people are coming from Africa to Britain, the British people should start behaving like spoiled brats and thinking black people are coming to take our country. Take your country where? This is actually a political trick by the ruling class in Africa, the ruling class in Africa, the ruling class in Europe, in around the world. They are trying to abuse citizens and actually creating confusion and enmity. Tactics of divide and rule is a form of violence. They have given rule a really dirty name. This will change, and that's why we see problems, including the cost of living crisis. Watch this video and watch the rest of the videos, and leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. And thank you so much for taking your time for watching this material. And if you have watched it enough, watch it again. If you still like it, if you don't like it, use the information here. Go online, get help. If you cannot get help, teach yourself with the information you get online so that you are aware of the problem. And if you think I'm talking rubbish, go online and read about capitalism. Read about, if you don't even want to go to the library, it is winter, it is really cold, perhaps it's warm in the library, go and read something. Go and read about the cost of living. Go and read about capitalism, the history of progress, the history of human civilization. Learn how violent the world has been, how stupid humans are, including me. Don't think I'm clever. I need to learn how to be peaceful, because I am actually talking about me. When I talk about human beings being really dumb, I'm talking about me as well. And therefore, we are actually in the same hot soup, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are a politician. You don't know anything. Do not pretend that you know something. If there is no peace, then we are all responsible to bring peace. It doesn't matter who you think you are, including me, who is talking now. I am responsible for the problems happening. We are all responsible. So we need to learn our culture, to start respecting ourselves and respecting other people, and begin to work toward peace. Also, talk to the government, talk to your MP. Let your MP go and tell the government to increase the minimum wage to get the people out of poverty. Britain alone cannot do it. Britain should start negotiating with the rest of Europe. Europe should negotiate with America. And they shouldn't sleep until the globe agree, continent agree, to get global citizens out of poverty. This is a form of violence which we cannot stand. We cannot allow, because if we allow it to happen, the world is going to go extinct. We are going to destroy humanity. We are going to destroy the earth. Humanity is only relevant if the earth is relevant only if humanity is actually occupying it. With this level of violence from the state and from the common people, even including the poor are actually killing each other on the street. Right now, they don't deserve very much in that respect. They are fighting in Africa, in Europe, everywhere. A husband is trying to kill a wife. Children are trying to kill parents. What is wrong with us? Adults are trying to kill their children. Children are trying to, in the UK, in Europe. That is why I call upon us to change the way we think. That is the way to actually begin to think correctly. Value humanity as a priority. If you value yourself, you don't commit suicide. If you value yourself, you don't, and value other people, you don't kill them. You don't even fight them. What you do, you actually care for yourself, and you start caring for your environment. You begin to care for your children, for your parents, for your wife, for your husband, for your members of the community. This is doable. If we can do wrong things, we can do right things. That is why I'm talking. Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. You think I'm right? Say thank you for giving this opinion because I know it can work. It is actually a source of hope for the rich and for the poor. We talk about poverty. Poverty is a symptom of human violence. If poor people get rich today, they start oppressing rich people. If everybody is rich, they will still continue fighting. In fact, if everybody is rich now, we will destroy each other even faster. Because now, only the few have power to oppress the many. At least there is some stability now. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil to oppress the majority by excluding them from wealth. Because once they get wealth, they can use wealth as a weapon of mass destruction. How can we behave like that if we are humans? And we watch these videos. I've actually been talking about this. We have to behave well. You can have your cake and eat it. See the light. You see, open your mouth and speak human, human, human. Open your eyes and see people. People are not dogs. Poverty does not qualify you to be stupid. And when I call you stupid, I'm calling a human being, which is including me. Until we realize how stupid we are. Killing each other. Destroying each other. I am talking about this, and I know other people are also talking about it. Why are we killing each other on the street? Why are children killing adults? If you watch the news, somebody is shooting somebody, he has to stop. We cannot afford any more violence going forward. If you read the history of progress, you will just be shocked. Progress of what? Progress of violence? What kind of species are we humans? What kind of species? What has bewitched us? What is wrong with us? Change the way you think. Go from being a fool, becoming somebody wise. If I didn't know it could be done, I was not going to talk about it. You speak to people today, a lot of people are forgiven up. Because you see, people cannot explain what is happening in society. Poverty. In a rich world, full of technology, artificial intelligence, 3D printer, nanotechnology, robotics. And we are actually getting better and better at being technocrats. And yet, we still have the cost of living crisis. This should actually remind us that something is deeply wrong with us as a species. You see, the government behaving very badly as it does today is actually a sign. It's actually an indictment on humanity. You see? Poor people can sit here and lecture rich people, and also including lecturing politicians, how evil politicians are. And they are so evil. In the sense that they allow poverty to occur in the United Kingdom. This should stop. But before, poor people, especially the working class at the bottom of the pile, who are the majority, and also the middle class, who think they are all that in terms of access to opportunity, and they are. Nothing wrong with access to opportunity, nothing wrong with being a technocrat, nothing wrong with doing a good job. They're doing a good job. Government is doing a good job, but they go mad at some stage. We all go mad. Whether we are on the street, if you walk around the street, you find people walking on the street making money. You ask yourself, where do they come from? I mean, say, you live in Britain. Why are you on the street? And they look drunk. Some of them were actually carrying alcohol in their hands. If you investigate a little, probably most of beggars on the street are on drugs. Should the government look after yourself? I mean, should the government take responsibility for individuals, everybody in the UK? Yes and no. Poor people, whether you are living in concentration camp, enjoy your life there. But remember, you are responsible for your life. You may not have money, you may not have power, but wealth. But you see, wealth and money is not the only source of power. You, as a human being, is the primary source of power, depending on how you think. If you are homeless on the street, let homelessness teach you how to change the way you think. Renew your mind. Start thinking positively about your life. Start taking a bath. If you can go to your, I don't know, if you are on the street, but probably on drugs, an alcoholic, probably suffering from mental illness, I don't know how you're going to get warm water to bathe or wash your clothes. I know now it's almost impossible to get a dental treatment, to get access to GP. If you're a poor person, it's getting worse and worse. But my suggestion is that it doesn't matter how hard it is. If you have to sleep on the street to try and get medical support, to try and get into work, to try and get benefit, do it. It doesn't matter how sick you are. Do your best to get medical help. That includes me. That includes everybody who is listening, who is not listening. Do yourself something to your life. Value your life. And that is the source of strength. The day poor people start valuing their lives, they will start living as better people, even if they remain in poverty. If they speak to the government to start teaching, because if you are right and you see wrong, you are actually in. It doesn't matter even if you are actually on the street. If you change the way you think, you start respecting yourself. You start respecting other people. Probably within 6 months you will be out of street, out of the street, because in the UK there is always help. There are actually places you can be taken to. And yet you find people on the street every day. I understand they're poor, but see, I mean, poverty does not qualify you to be stupid, to be on drugs, to go on the street. I'm suffering from depression. I'm suffering from anxiety. If you think I'm talking to you, yes, I'm talking to you, but I'm also talking to myself. And I already said, the cost of living is an opportunity for me to talk to you, who may or may not be listening. But before I talk to you, I'm actually talking to me. Because if it is good enough for me to tell you what to think, it's good enough for me to tell me what to think. If you think you can tell me what to think, leave a comment below and let me hear your idea. If you don't, be my guest. There is time for everything. This is my opportunity to speak on using this space to me first and to you also. Because what I say for you to do, to think respect, think human as a priority. Because the way you think actually produces who you are. You are what you think, or you are what you eat. And the way you eat actually depends on the way you think. Believe it or not, the kind of food you go to choose to eat. And this applies, I know there are food addictions. The way food is produced is actually, I don't know what they put into this food. You eat it once, you can't even leave it. If they are sweet, if they are fatty, or whatever they put into food, food are addictive. Everything even television you watch, even YouTube channel, YouTube is addictive. That is life. But you can use it to your advantage if you can choose to think. I'm not saying it's easy. If it was easy, I wouldn't be talking here. I would be maybe doing something else. I'm talking here because I want somebody to join me so that you can support me, I can support you, to form a community of thinkers. Community who support one another. That's why we are a community. That's why we are born in families. There is a purpose for society. You see, all the wealth we talk about, The wealth we talk about wealth in terms of people. The reason we speak common language, I am an African. I'm not English. I learned English at school. I don't speak it very well because it's not my language. But people, if I speak language, English, people will get the idea what I'm saying. They may not understand entirely what I'm saying. But, if you pay attention, you will try to figure out what I'm trying to say because English is not my language. But I speak it because I was able to learn. People are supposed to be able to learn every language or languages of the world. If you want to get something, you put your mind into it, you will get it. If you want to respect your life, you will respect it. By valuing your life, it's a choice you make. It is in your head. The answer to the question of your life is in your head. Think. Think and think and think and think again. If you are to read the right material. If you read the wrong material, some materials are so wrong. Believe me or not, there is a difference between some things are wrong. And you can begin to learn to think of what is right. You can begin to look for what is right. Once you start doing the right thing, you get the right results. A lot of people are now doing wrong things. That's why there is a lot of human wrong going on. I say this because I know there are things I should not do. Every time I do certain things, if I eat the wrong food, I put on weight. And that is good. It's good news. Because you know you can control your life. You just have to try. I've been recording videos, not knowing whether people will watch it, whether people will like it. I am determined to talk about the cost of living. Not like the cost of living is the only thing, but the cost of living enables me to talk about everything I need to talk about, especially our culture, as human culture. So that if we are in trouble, the first person to ask is you. You're homeless. You cannot accept healthcare because the system is broken. The system is not allowing you to access healthcare because of politics. Somebody decided the public sector is wrong, so they shut it down, including the Conservative Party in the UK, including New Labour, including the Liberal Democrats, including the Scottish MP, the Welsh authorities. All of them are responsible because they are corrupt. I mean, if you think the public sector is wrong because your ideology is rotten, do not blame us. Do not blame the British people. If you want to blame somebody, blame yourself. You are actually the politician. You have been elected to run this country. You shut the public sector down. You created poverty for the many and only providing wealth for the few. And that is a fact in Britain, in Europe, in America, in Africa. It's part of the global agenda. So you now call this system capitalism, which you created because you are in power. Even if you didn't actually create it directly, you are now responsible. You chose to become an MP. You take more responsibility than anybody else. But that doesn't mean that people who are victims do not take responsibility. You should take responsibility for your life. If you are a victim, even if you are a slave, slaves are responsible for survival, for their survival. Think your life as a priority. Value your life. Be a survivor. Try your best to stay alive as a slave, as a victim of political violence. And that's why, you see, you did not do anything wrong to be poor. You are poor in a modern world full of technology, full of engineering, because their politics actually is rotten. It stinks. And it stinks because we have chosen war over peace as a human species. Whether we are on the street, whether we are children, whether we are rich, whether we are poor, we are all in this together as humanity. We need re-educating about peace. Peace will be achieved, and it can be achieved by valuing humanity in a new way. Humanity should be prioritized, not power. There's no shortcut to this, but we need to start the process of a dialogue now. We need to start talking about it, and this YouTube channel is an opportunity for us to start talking about valuing humanity, valuing your life, valuing the life of somebody else in your mind. And this will actually focus your thinking in a certain way and rebuilding your approach, your mindset, your behavior, your character. You begin a new person, a different person, somebody who is more constructive than destructive. We want to take drugs and remain homeless on the street. Go, be my guest. So let us look at the information, and then we can continue to provide analysis the way I've been trying to show. Because I look at the benefit system, I work with the benefit system, I know how complicated it is. I speak to people. I am an advisor. I speak to people, and some people cry. When I speak to them, they cry on the phone. Because they are helpless. The system is so complex. And I have been saying, the best thing now is to get British people out of poverty. But that is not enough. So because, simply getting people out of poverty is not going to make them rich. That is okay. There should be a policy now to get people out of poverty. And the way to get the people to poverty, to increase the level of benefit, to simplify the system of benefit, to simplify payment, structure policy with employers. Employers should be regulated by the government, but small and medium businesses should be supported by grants to complement their business, so that they're able to implement minimum wage. They shouldn't be left to their own devices without support, but also without regulation, because there should be a carrot and stick approach, such as now being implemented in the benefit system. If you don't look for work, you don't get benefit. But that is also an excuse. We shouldn't put any condition at all on benefit, because people get benefit because they cannot get a job, either because they're sick. So the only condition should be prove that you are on low income, you cannot work, or you don't have a good job. Because some jobs are actually worthless. They are actually meaningless. Sometimes it's meaningless to work. In a modern world where there is a lot of wealth, you shouldn't work. If you can't be paid properly, you should be... nobody should actually implement 0-hour contract. It is evil. The British government actually is defending the indefensible. No employer should implement 0-hour contract. You don't need 0-hour contract. If you want to be flexible with certain individuals, that is your business. Because you see, people do not have to work in Britain. They don't have to work because you see, we have technology now coming to take over this, the economy. Whatever job is left should be subjected to minimum wage, and minimum wage should be £30 an hour, or £30,000 roughly after tax per annum. This is from the top of my head, and I'm not that clever. How about somebody as clever as the Pay Review Board, which actually advise the British government, still allowing the British government, the Pay Review Board in the UK is advising the United Kingdom government to pay £10 an hour. No, yeah, £10 an hour, I think, I mean £10,000 per annum in minimum wage, or living wage. I mean, you call it whatever you like, living wage or minimum wage. We want the level to go up. Same with benefit. Call it universal credit if you want. I have no problem with labeling. But I want the substance to be honest. Get people out of poverty. Get the British people out of poverty. And stop accusing foreigners. And if I was the Conservative Party MP, stop insisting on imposing immigration as an election. If you're going to lose the next election, lose it peacefully. Stop pretending that both people who are coming to our country are responsible for poverty, for the cost of living. That is what you did with Brexit, and Brexit was fake. Was a form of political opportunism by the Conservatives, and you gain from it. Because in 2019, you won a landslide by accusing the Europeans of creating problems in Europe. When the Europeans left, you didn't do anything for the country. You started COVID-19. You started the war in Ukraine as an excuse. What I say to the British government is that start easing away from lying, or by being incompetent, and start being competent or telling the truth to the British people somewhere along the line. See, the dishonesty of politicians is becoming unsustainable. Politicians are teaching British people to be liars. And this is not just in Britain, it is actually in all the continents of the world. If you go to Africa, the level of lying in Africa is shocking. We as a society are becoming liars. We have had our cakes and eaten it in Africa, in Europe and Asia, and in America. We as politicians are liars. As citizens, we are also liars. Some people tell the truth. And I'm happy to hear that, because if there are people who tell the truth, everybody can tell the truth. So we need to change the way we think, to respect ourselves and respect other people. We should stop lying that to the British people that immigrants crossing the boats are actually taking our money. That's why there is poverty. There's a cost of living. That's what the government is trying to tell the British people. If you check the BBC, we should be ashamed of itself every day. The news is flooded with the boat people. How many are they? Seriously? Are they the ones taking our money in Britain? If the British people go to Africa, are they taking wealth from Africa? No. Wealth are being stolen by politicians. And there are mafias, fellow mafias in Africa. The same in Europe and America. Evil is actually ruling the world because evil has conducted affairs in the world for so long. It is no longer sustainable. Let us tell the truth. And the truth, nothing and nothing but the truth. We are responsible for our society, rich, poor, black, white, Africa, European, Asians, or America. We are human communities. We are a global society. It is our responsibility to bring peace. Peace is our goal. And the way we are behaving now, there is a lot of chaos. And it has to stop. Beginning with me, I have to try my best, but it is 2 8s are better than 1. I'm using this platform to get allies or people who want peace. Let us begin to talk peace. Let us begin to think peace. I know it works. I know if you think correctly about something, you achieve it. And that is a sign of, probably the only sign of hope is that if you change the way you think, if we can actually focus on peace, we begin to start thinking about peace and actually be achieving the capacity to understand peace, to change the way we behave, our attitude. We begin to access energy and strength to conduct. We know how to do it because we are humans. We have it in us. We are born with it. We know how to be peaceful because we practice peace every day. Except when we begin to practice violence and become destructive, then the impact actually far outweighs the impact we create by being peaceful. We are peaceful. It's not like we are always fighting. We would be extinct a long time. But you see, the level of violence now is getting out of control. In government, in communities, in businesses, in families is getting out of control. We have to stop. We know how to stop because we know peace. We know how to be peaceful. We know how to change our mind and make decisions different. That's why we are able to bring peace. We are able to use our brains to think correctly. And this is a point I'm actually mentioning over and again. Let us go back to look at the information on the internet, on the screen here, and also try to figure out how we can get help from the government or from private companies or from charities. If you watch this video, watch the other videos also, because I've been talking about it. Some people are pregnant and they're looking for help. There are help for pregnant people. So find out online what kind of help and how to get it, conditions of it. And I already reminded you it is complicated, but if you want it, you have to really fight for it. It doesn't matter how hard it is to get, people get it, so you can also get it. Don't give up. So we have something called parental guardian. If you look after a child, as a parent or a guardian, then there are actually help, a type of help for these kind of people. Like I said in the opening, use the benefit calculator to find out what benefit you could get and how to apply for it. So if you access this website, you are entitled to or turn to us. You go to gov.uk and type benefit calculations. It will bring this website, this link immediately. Go to benefit Citizen Advice public website. Type benefit calculation. It will bring this website immediately. If not, if you watch this video and you need help, leave a comment below. Then I will get a link and leave it on the comment box for you. Thank you for watching this video. Like I said, also, you need information about your savings. If you have £16,000 and you don't work, you can get some benefit. Probably you can get £1 or £5. But the moment you have less than, maybe you have £15,000, then you probably have £1,000 in benefit. This is good because some benefit, if you're getting universal credit and they're paying for your home and maybe paying council tax reduction, there are other grants which are actually payable, discretionary grants like discretionary housing payments, which is the grant you have with if you are in debt with rent arrears. You can get this from the council, from your local authorities, called discretionary housing payment, which is the grant. But you can only get that if you are getting the housing element of universal credit or you are getting housing benefit. You get housing benefit if you live in a temporary accommodation. I don't know if you get the housing benefit for other reasons, but if you're a pensioner, you get housing benefit also. Probably get housing benefit if you are actually in a private property. I need to check that information. You can check that information for yourself if you're living in a privately rented accommodation. Find out if you can get universal credit. I think you will get universal credit instead of housing benefit. Housing benefit is paid by the council. A universal credit is paid by the Department for Work and Pension. It's a government department which is run nationally and locally. They are part of the central government also, as in the civil service, but also is civil service infrastructure locally. It's called the DWP or Job Center. They are now combined because of something called corporatization. Corporatization is intended to cut costs. It's efficiency saving. It's a commercial concept. So if you visit the DWP now, you instead of being referred to as the client, you are referred to as the customer. So the word privatization rings a bell in your head, knowing that that place is closing down, because you cannot privatize the public sector and keep it open. And remember, every time the government privatizes the economy, the private sector closes it down also. Because see, the thing with the private sector, It cannot keep an economy open unless it is making money. And it cannot make money if the government doesn't give it grant. You saw it with the credit crunch. When the private companies, big corporations, destroyed the global economy, the government gave them money to bail them out. It's called bailout. It's like something called liquidity, whatever. It's called recapitalization or something like that. So the government gives them billions and trillions of public money across the globe to bail out big businesses. they are treated like spoiled children. And they destroy the economy. The government has to rush and get all the money from where they have hidden it, give it to them. Because if they fail, we are going to be in serious trouble. And they are failing, and we are actually going to be in serious trouble. But if they fail systematically in the long and medium term, they will save the super rich and destroy the poor, who are actually the majority, including the lower and the middle class earners. Because when they shut down the economy, private companies, I'm talking about private companies being shut down, because if they no longer make profit from it, they shut it down. Because see, the logic of business is that you have to make profit. Efficiency means maximizing profit. I'm now talking about income maximization, which is a commercial concept, to show that the government is actually privatizing the public sector. This is actually the public sector information. But we are now talking about income maximization, which is a private commercial concept of making profit. We don't make profit in the public sector. We provide for people who need help. It's a different world. It's a different concept of economy. The government are now mixed up the two because the government is on drugs. Metaphorically, on drugs, on steroids. Metaphorically, you think privatization is the only thing in the world. They sell off the country and the private company shut it down. They only leave enough for rich people. Because you see, if technology comes, and it is coming, artificial intelligence is now everywhere. In the next 10 years, if you actually are living in a house, you will be controlled by artificial intelligence. Things will start speaking in the room, including your fridge, including your door will speak to you, artificial intelligence. And the pace is actually very fast. 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, society will be run by artificial intelligence. The fridge will be moving around the home, speaking to you. How can I help you today, my lord or sir or whatever? Now, that means artificial intelligence means machine intelligence. Machine is going to be clever. How clever it is in terms of mental and physical dexterity is to be seen. Because you see, that is what we now seek to achieve. Once we achieve that, and we will, machine will be more capable in terms of retail, banking, insurance, hospitality, and also building houses. Instead of seeing human being collecting garbages, trucks will be driving themselves, collecting. There are little machine robots running around the street. We saw it even in COVID-19. Robots were already helping to support medical system. And this is just the beginning. The moment robots achieve a level of physical dexterity comparable to human dexterity in terms of physicality, also mental, that is it. You don't need any human in the industry. Trucks will drive themselves. You will get deliveries from the office, from the supermarket, which is a good thing. People don't have to work, but the thing is that, and also one machine is running the economy because they run the economy at no extra costs. Theoretically, everybody should be able to access wealth. That is how society will access wealth 100%, by mechanization. Mechanization means allowing a status of society being run by the machine. Mechanization is a derivative in linguistic terms from the machine. The word actually comes from the machine, mechanization. We are now looking to see the impact of mechanization in supermarkets and checkouts. They are the new cashiers. The machine are the new cashiers. There is now something called self-service. The future of retail is where you go into a shop, you take a product and scan it and walk out. You will not see a human being there running the store. It will only be machines. Could be even on the street. We now see with, what do you call it? Go take petrol station. You go and pick up what is called nozzle and put fuel in your car and pay at the pump, the petrol pump. You don't need to speak to human being. You just take your credit card or debit card and pay and drive away. More and more you're going to get these scenarios. And with the electric car, you get a charging point, or with bicycle, motor bicycle, the electrification of society, which is a good thing. Technology is perfect. It's supposed to bring peace in theory, because we, actually historians, think that the reason we fight because we are rivaling our resources. It's true. But you see, there's a type of fighting which has nothing to do with poverty. Otherwise, rich people wouldn't be fighting. Why would they fight? The people now, Putin is fighting Zelensky in Asia or Europe, whatever, East Europe, whatever you call Russia and Ukraine. There are two millionaires. It is rumored that Putin is the richest man on earth. But this is a rumor because we will never know the truth. They operate in the dark. You will never know how much money Putin has because he's the richest, allegedly, he's the richest man. Zelensky is also alleged to have made millions, perhaps nearing billions, because of the war in Ukraine. I don't know if that is true, but that is the rumors. So they make money when they fight. They make money if there is crisis. We show it with the cost of living crisis. The energy company made a lot of money. So much money, they came openly say, we made so much money. We don't even know where to put it. We don't know what to use it for. Rich people are making harvest when there is a crisis, including COVID-19, the cost of living, Brexit, the financial crash of 2007. It's harvest time for the super rich. So you could argue that if there is a crisis, super rich begin smiling all the way to the bank. The poor people start smiling all the way to the grave of poverty. The rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer. That is the message sent by capitalists under the system of capitalism. Businesses rule the waves, the skies, and the deep. So, going back to what we are saying here, you use a benefit calculator to find out what benefits you could get and how to apply. This is some of the things you can do. You will need information about your savings. Like I said, saving is very important. If you are 15,000 pounds and you have lost your job, apply for benefit. Even if you are only getting £5 in rent costs, if you are in rent arrears, you can get the full help from grants given by the government. That's an example of passport benefit. Because it's things like universal credit can be passport to even getting help from energy support fund or whichever other help you can get. Actually, if you're on benefit, if you're going to earn £2, you can get a lot of help, which are scattered all over the place. Be an expert on benefit. Be also an expert on cleaning, looking for the way these help are. Don't leave. Actually, you best benefit givers until they give. Because most of these benefits are actually discretionary, which means they decide. You don't have right to it. You don't have right to appeal. They decide whether you need it or not. These are mostly private companies or charities or actually statutory bodies like we find in the council. But it is your role to push them. It's like a tug of war, no pain, no gain. If you have to maximize your income, you have to really fight your employer, you have to fight your benefit giver. Because it maximizing your benefit, if you are actually a private company, I don't know what exactly you're going to do. You have to really work like there is no tomorrow. Maximize your profit, pay your taxes. If there is room for negotiation with taxman, negotiate and save money by some benefits given to small and medium businesses. Find out where they are. There is no peace for the wicked. And we, the present generation, are practitioners of wickedness, so we don't rest. But it is my hope and my belief that if we change the way we think, we begin to value our life, we begin to value the lives of our friends, families, and friends, when we begin to create conditions of peace. And then once we achieve peace, we begin to rest in peace, even before we die. And if you watch the previous video, I said there that the technicians, researchers, scientists are now trying to slow down, to find means with which we can slow down aging. Talk about physical death, mortality. We talk about mortality, turning mortality into immortality. If we can slow down aging, if we can stop aging, if we can actually reverse aging, which is now that what they are doing research to try and see if it can be done. And if they can't waste their money to do research if they didn't know it was possible. So there is hope in terms of mortality and immortality. The second thing is regenerative health, which is actually, you get shot by a gun and your body actually regenerates within seconds. Now regeneration is happening in nature. Some animals actually, if they lose their tails or cut off their head, they grow their bodies again. They heal and actually regenerate. It's happening in nature. So if you do that study and find out how they do it, and interface their natural processing of their life, you interface it with the human life. Who knows? I mean, you can achieve regenerative health, but there's also something called, I don't know what I call, but I can call it resurrection, scientifically induced resurrection. It is now in science fiction where you die and come back to life. It's called telepathy. Yeah, I think not telepathy, but teleportation. You enter into a capsule and you are disintegrated. They are doing research on it now. It's fiction still, but they are doing research to see if they can do it actually. You enter into a capsule and you're actually disintegrated into information. This information is actually transported from here, from the United Kingdom to Scotland or to Africa, into another capsule, and then it is reintegrated to form me, which means I die from this capsule, and then I travel in terms of information and magnetism. I travel the distance to Africa, and I'm reconstituted into a body into a life. When I come back to life, it's like I am beamed within seconds. I should be there. If the machine breaks down, I may be rest in peace, or even rest in pieces. But life is full of excitement within technology. By seriously, we need to learn peace at a micro level, at a cultural level. See, if you want to call it micro cultural level, you call it. But as a culturalist, we need to learn to produce that pigment of peace. And we can do that. That's why I'm talking about it. I'm so happy. I'm so excited to talk about these things. And so we are going to conclude this. We were looking at the elements of help, income maximization in the United Kingdom, the information related to that. And we will talk about the use of benefit calculator, where you will need information about the saving income, pension, childcare payments, and any benefit that you or your partner gets. This is actually so that you can assess the level of your income in terms of whether you're getting enough benefit. If you're really getting benefit, you put this information into the system, onto the benefit calculating system. It does it automatically. It calculates benefit for you automatically. If you are 18 years or over, you can use the turn to ask benefit calculator. If you are under 18, find out about benefits you might be able to claim on the turn to ask benefit. I prefer to use entitled to. That's it makes more sense to me. I think it's easier for me to use entitled to. They're all one word. So take your pick. And next time we're going to continue with this discourse. Let me see. So if you are claiming benefits, you should also find out if it can be backdated, because benefit can be backdated. And if you are actually claiming benefit and you're entitled to a backdated benefit, this will be in a situation where you're entitled to benefit before the date they made the claim, before you made the claim. If you already are entitled, this is known as late claim. If you have a late claim, probably you may have to discuss this with your advisor at the DWP, and also then a decision is revised or superseded following a dispute. If this situation arises, you can also get a backdated payment. So like I was saying, if a decision is revised or superseded following a dispute, or when a decision maker considers it on their own initiative, this is a situation where you can get a backdate. If there's a dispute, if there's a misunderstanding, maybe the DWP has to look at your claim and maybe rectify one thing or another. This can be actually backdated and be paid to you. And also, if there is an appeal of benefit decision, if you disagree with the decision of the DWP, you can actually challenge the decision, something called mandatory consideration, or you can appeal to a tribunal, or in some other ways you may actually appeal. Those are the main ones. And if there are changes, these benefits can be back paid, that is backdated. And also, so there is a way, always pay attention to see if you can check for a backdate. And you can do something similar also, checking with your employer if they are paying you the right amount. All this information you need to be an expert in it, because these are actually some of the complexity coming from the legal system on benefit, the law on benefit, on income, generally benefit, and taxation, and also law on employment and things like that. So you can actually check the national minimum wage calculator on gov.uk to see if you are being paid the right amount of money. I will talk about the minimum wage, because sometimes employer by mistake or by design decide to pay you less. Every time an employer make a mistake about your wages, it's most likely it's paying you less. He or she is paying you less. So you need to pay attention to this, because you see, it would be nice if they make a mistake and they overpay you. But always, if that happens, also you will have to pay it back anyway. But the main thing is actually to be engaged with. You have to be aware of all these things. If you are not being paid the right amount, start by having an informal conversation with your employer. Talk with your employer to try and resolve the matter. If they agree they have made a mistake, ask them to pay what you are owed. Because sometimes you have to ask for your employer. Some employers are actually ruthless And this is some of the issues which it may sound straightforward, but some employer may literally sit on your pay for 6 months. Then you need to really be aware of your rights, your employment rights. You can visit websites. Like I said, you can visit website. This we'll talk about income maximization, which is part of the solution of dealing with the cost of living crisis. So you can get help also. Speaking to your employer, if you are not being paid minimum wage, you should do this as soon as possible, because you have a deadline of 3 months, which is a time limit when you can make a claim against your employer. So time limits are really important when you're dealing with the law. And these are some of the complexity of the problem you have to deal with, which is really, if you can't law, you think it's necessary if you're working for a living, and then you have to go through the laws. You are actually trying to maximize income, you still have to go through the laws. And in an age where there is a lack of legal aid, and if you are an employee, you are actually very vulnerable. And this is some of the things you leave a comment below. If you think the government is doing the right thing to not pay people legal aid, especially when there is employment law dispute between employers and employees. If this doesn't help, contact your local help. For example, Citizen Advice or other similar organizations. Citizen Advice is important because it's connected with other employers. They can help you take further action, such as raising a formal grievance. These are some of the procedures you can pay attention to. And Citizen Advice give free legal advice also. And you can go to a lawyer to kind of like kickstart the process of making claims via an employment tribunal. And there are organizations like I think I can't remember, NAS or something like that. ACAS. Actually, ACAS is if you live in the UK, you should be familiar with organizations like ACAS for which support you as an employer or employee on the matter of dispute, including on the matter of wages or any other form of dispute in terms of employment. So if you raise an issue in relation to minimum wage and you're not successful with your employer, you can actually also begin the process of making a claim to an employment tribunal. But this is easy said than done. And you can also look at issues on equal pay. And so the issue of equal pay is quite common because, because of your age, gender, disability, race, religion, or belief, sexual orientation. Sometimes you are discriminated against by being paid differently, and this should be raised as a concern. Normally, if you are actually facing inequality or discrimination in terms of these factors, it's best actually to get a specialist help, which is not easy to get, but try and get it nevertheless to make a claim. Find out more about making a claim for equal pay, and also check deduction from your wages that they are correct, and help yourself as much as getting help from professionals. If you work for a living with an employer in terms of income, employer can actually make deduction from your wages. They can take money from your wages before they are paid. They are called deductions, or deduction can include things required by law, such as tax, national insurance, and student loan repayments, and things you have agreed to, such as pension contribution. There is actually something called work pension, which actually you agree with your employer to pay him. Sometimes it's often about 5 or 3% contribution toward your pension, your work pension. This is also a type of complexity created by government policy on social policy. I've said in the other videos that the government should have one pension policy, state pension, which should be paid to everyone, whether you have worked or you haven't worked. And they should be maximized so that you don't need to involve an employer to pay part of the pension, because see, this is actually privatization by the back door. Is an exercise of gradualism. Is privatizing gradually so that people do not really realize the government is privatizing the economy, the country. Because see, the idea of distorting the system of state pension, including introducing system of pension credit, is wrong, and should be actually, if the government want to help people, there should be. I even said the pension system should be scrapped. There should be one benefit. And like if you watch the beginning of this video, sometimes if you owe money to a creditor, the creditor can contact your employer, including benefits and things like that. So your employer may actually deduct money from your salary. Money can be taken to pay a creditor directly. A creditor is somebody who lends you money. So if you owe them money, they can contact your employer. Employer can take money from direct take money from your salary or wages and pay your creditor directly. So you can check when your employer can make deduction from your pay on gov.uk. What you're checking is actually your rights and the right of your employer to make sure that they are actually complying with the law, and also for you to be aware of what the law may allow your employer to do, which is actually a form of empowerment if you do things like that. If you think that your employer is making deductions they shouldn't, or that the amount taken is wrong, contact your nearest organization for advice, especially citizen advice or any other of employment. But normally, citizen advice is so important, especially if you go online, or also try to speak to an advisor, because they can connect you to other lawyers in relation to employment. Employment, however, is problematic in many ways because, most often, unless there's discrimination or some form of abuse, which actually can be covered by legal aid. If you can't get legal aid, you can't get access to justice. As simple as that. That is one of the problems the government is actually creating for the British people. They should be aware. The British people should be aware of that. And you should talk to your MP why the government is actually withdrawing help for people who need justice, especially in terms of employment, in terms of things like benefit. Because if you want to maximize your income, the government is giving unnecessarily excessive power to energy company, water company, employers, and such that you as an employee is stuck with poverty. You can't even raise money to pay lawyers. Employment lawyers actually costs involving legal costs involving employment is extremely expensive. Also, in terms of deduction, employer making deduction on your wages, make sure that the deduction is authorized, because some deductions are actually unauthorized, and the employer can deduct from your wages in ways which are actually unauthorized, and you should try to resolve a dispute over deduction by negotiating with your employer. If this fails, consider raising a grievance and making a claim to an employment tribunal. The same, and check to challenge unauthorized deduction from wages. You can always make challenges, so pay attention. Deduction to pay creditors can also be done, like I say. So normally when your employer is making deduction to pay your creditors, and if deduction to pay creditors are causing your client, if you're actually being impacted by hardship, if it is creating hardship for you, so you might be able to get them reduced or stopped, or you can ask an advisor to help you as their clients to support you to negotiate with your employer in principle, and it can be reduced or stopped if it's causing hardship. This is really it sounds good, but in practice is not going to work. But what the government should do instead is actually regulate employers to reduce their power, and if people are on minimum wage, their wages should not be deducted at all. And the government should actually help people in debt to kind of like give them extra cash, because with minimum wage being paid to individuals who are actually already poor, to subject them to credit system, which is being caused by poverty, is a form of cruelty by the state, politicking society with a lot of evil, stalking society. And these I will be repeating these points over and again. So you can always keep looking for help, information, so you can actually consider whether attachment of earnings orders in the county court are actually being made. These are some of the ways the government, the employer can actually deduct your money, which is already low. I mean, if you have a problem with the court, there can be attachment of earnings orders from the court, which is actually in the county court, which is attachment of earnings orders in the magistrate's court, attachment of earning orders for council tax arrears, deduction from earnings orders for child maintenance arrears, direct earnings attachment for recovery of benefits or payment. Check also whether you are paying the right amount of tax, like I said before. Sure, you can also check the tax being deducted by the employer. You don't have to pay tax on everything you earn. You can actually earn an amount tax-free. That's your personal allowance, something called personal allowance, where you don't have to pay tax under certain circumstances. Check and find out what it is. You might pay less tax if you are married or in civil partnership, and if you are actually registered blind, and if you spend money on things that are actually essential for your job, if you are married or in civil partnership, if you are registered blind, and if you spend your own money on things that are essential for your job, these are some of the things you can look to establish that you may not have to pay taxes on certain things. You can sometimes pay less tax if you have to spend your own money on things that are essential for your job. This is called tax relief. So check and find out what tax relief is. You can't claim tax relief on things you also use outside of work, or if your employer pays you back for what you have spent. Things you could claim tax relief for include special clothing for work, such as uniform or protective clothing, membership of a professional body's tools for your job. Check on the gov.uk if you can get tax relief and how to claim. Like I said previously, these are actually information available, which you can actually look online, so you get check for things like tax allowances. Also checking what tax allowances you might be able to get, you might be entitled to. You can actually, if you do your own work, you can draw your attention to these tax allowances issued with your professional advisors. The more you are aware, the more you can actually work with advisors to support you more. If you have recently lost your job, then you have to do certain things, such as looking at your income, considering employing for your applying for benefit. Consider looking at whether or not employer owe you some money. This is about income maximization. It's also about supporting you on the matter of the cost of living crisis. If you remember, I said previously, the cost of living crisis is income related, actually related to poverty, and this is actually a small amount of money, but if you want to maximize your income, if you are poor, then you really be vigilant to make sure you get everything you are owed, or which actually can be paid to you. So if you have lost your job, you can also you might also be able to get back some of the tax you paid while you were working. This is called tax refund, or sometimes tax rebate. You might also be able to get tax refund if you lost your job partway through the tax year and were paying tax through pay as you earn. And you can check this information. If you can claim a tax refund, you can check this on the gov.uk. And if you have been made redundant, also you try to consider your options to see what you're going to do if you are actually made redundant. And if you've been in the same job for 2 years or more, you will usually get redundancy pay. These are conditions. The minimum amount you should get is called statutory redundancy pay. For each full year worked, you have worked for your employer, you can get, for example, a half a week's pay if you are age 18 to 22, 1 week's pay if you are age 20 to 40. Some of this information you can find. 1.5 weeks pay if you are age 41 and over. Also, you can check how much redundancy pay you can get online. If you have children, you can also check the conditions, how you are impacted. You might be able to get help with your child's school costs, for example, free school meals. And because this depends on your income and also your condition of income, you might be able to get help with your child's school costs. If your child's other parent doesn't live with you, you should consider your options. You might be able to get payment to help with the living costs of your child. Usually, the parent who doesn't have day-to-day care of the child makes regular payments to the parent who does. This is called child maintenance or sometimes child support. Now, this is in theory possible, but in practice, if the parents are poor, then it becomes a problem because it's not to be practicable. In which case, the government should be prepared to actually foot up some of the bills. You can arrange child maintenance payment with the other parent yourself. Use the child maintenance calculation on gov.uk to work out how much payment it should be. If you can't reach an agreement with the other parent, get help from the child maintenance service. You can find this always from online. Check if you can get help with your energy bills. References are found online. And you might be able to get grants, benefits, or other help from the government or energy suppliers. Check what grants or benefits you can get to help you pay your energy bills. We are still talking about income maximization. We are repeating the other point we have discussed previously, but this is now we are recontextualizing the same type of information in terms of income maximization as a topic. So your local council might give you vouchers or prepaid card to help pay for essentials like food or fuel. We have already discussed this also in the other videos, and in part, we are repeating this point within the context of income maximization. You could also get household appliances like a fridge or a cooker. This is called welfare assistance or the household support fund. Each council runs its own scheme, so what you can get depends on where you live. These are also mentioned previously about the fragmenting of service provision, and this should be subject of political conversation with your MP. So you can contact your local council and ask if they run a welfare assistance or other support fund scheme. You can find out how to contact your local council on gov.uk. If you don't have to, if you don't have to be getting benefit, if you don't have to be getting benefits to get help, you don't have to be getting benefit to get help from your local council. In other words, even if you're not on benefit, you can get help from your local council, as long as you can provide proof that you're on low income and you're actually suffering hardship in terms of the cost of living in particular. If you do not get benefit, they won't be affected if you start getting money from a welfare assistance or other support fund scheme. What this means is that if you're on benefit, because most benefits are actually means tested, it means if you have money or level of income, it affects your benefit. But in terms of the household support fund and this similar help from the council, it doesn't actually, it's not means tested. So if you get it, it's not going to reduce or increase your benefit. Get a discretionary housing payment to help pay real rent. I already discussed this previously, and you can look at that information again. If you get housing benefit or the housing cost element are part of universal credit, you still can't afford your rent, you could apply for a discretionary housing payment, DHP. This is actually something you can do and your local council doesn't have to give you a DHP. It depends on your circumstances. If your local council agrees to give you a DHP, they will tell you how much you will get and when the payment will stop. And if you still need help after your DHP stops, you can apply again. These are some important information. You can discuss it with your local advisors, or you can go online and do a study of it. So when the payment, contact your local council and ask how to apply. Normally you apply online. You can find out how to contact your local council on gov.uk. Other ways to get more money also is you can also find that out online, and you might be able to get money from local or national charities, budgeting loan or advance if you are on a certain benefit. And loans are actually payable. You pay it back, and these are some of the things you need to really pay attention to. And so also as adults who live with you renting out, you can also consider them. You can rent out a spare room in your home, a pension if you are over 55. These are some of the things you can pay attention to. You can get help from other charities also. We have look at this before. You might be able to get extra money from a charity. Some of these grants are open to everyone. Others might be available to you based on your situation, such as your job or health. Use the Turn to Us grant search to find charities that could help. You might also be able to get help from a food bank. Get help with your savings as well. If you are on low income and get universal credit or working tax credit, you might be able to get help from the government with your savings. Find out more about how to save on gov.uk. Get an interest-free budgeting loan. If you claim certain benefit, you might be able to get a budgeting loan. You pay loans back, and grants you don't pay back. This can help you pay the essential goods like clothing or washing machine. Budgeting loans are interest-free, so you'll only have to pay back what you borrow. And you will usually need to pay back the loan within 2 years. You might be able to get a budgeting loan if you get income support, job seekers allowance, income-based job seekers allowance, income-related employment and support allowance, pension credit. Check what you could get also and how to apply on gov.uk. You can't get a budgeting loan if you are on universal credit. You can apply for a budgeting advance instead. These are actually the same benefit, but they just keep changing the names and the conditions to get it. And budgeting loans and budgeting advances are actually to be looked at because they are confusing. How would you know budgeting loans and budgeting advances is the same, but one for one benefit, one for another benefit? And it is, in my opinion, unnecessary. Check who can get budgeting loan and what they can be used for. You can check that. If your client, if you are getting universal credit, check if you can get a budgeting advance or how to apply. Because budgeting advance and budgeting loan are actually the same because you pay them back. But the one relate for the legacy benefit, another relate to universal credit. They're the same. In other words, in other adults, if other adults are living with you in terms of rent, in terms of housing, having another adult in your home can affect the housing benefits you get. For example, it might mean you are not able to get the single person discount on council tax, which is normally 25%. But because if another adult, including your children or grandchildren, if they are adults, they are called non-dependent, you are counted out of the 25% discount of your council tax, for example. It also means household bills such as energy and water might be higher. These are stating the obvious. In other, because this will talk about income maximization. So if somebody else is living with you, the government is not really necessarily going to help you anymore than when you are living there alone. What they're actually trying to say to you, if an adult is living with you, they should contribute financially. Which, if the government was actually decent in its way of treating British citizens by raising the level of minimum wage, also benefit, they didn't have to go through these exercises. These are just resources of help, but also of confusion. If other adults live with you, you make sure you are splitting the bills fairly. If you have got grown-up children still living with you, ask them to pay board. That's what they're talking about. Your children, if they are adults, they should start contributing financially. If they're not working, they should actually claim benefits, and they should take some of their benefit money to contribute toward, rent, council tax, energy, water, and that's what they're talking about. Non-dependent deductions can occur. That dependence means your children who are actually adults or an adult who is not dependent. Dependent adults means somebody who is disabled or sick, who depend on other people to care for them. The rules are different for those kind of category of adults. So your client you might be facing a situation where you can discuss with your advisor. You might be reluctant to ask for money from grown-up children or other family members who live with them. Explain that if they receive, you need to understand also. You need to understand that. If you're reluctant to ask for money from grown-up children or other family members, if you are receiving housing benefit and council tax reduction or support from mortgage interest (SMI), the amount you get might be reduced if you have an independent living with you. So I've already explained this. Your benefit will be affected if an independent is living with you. Your benefit will be subjected to deduction, which is actually nonsense. Really, it's a nonsensical policy which should be scrapped. A deduction is made on the assumption that the non-dependent should make a contribution to your client housing or council tax costs. This is government idea of saving money, which is actually total rubbish, because this is disrespectful to dignity, human dignity. The deduction is made whether or not a contribution is actually made. So you can rent out a room in your home. This is what they say, but that is also I hate using the word stupid, but it's just a stupid policy. It should be scrapped also. So you have a spare room, you might want to rent it out as a source of income. Normally 9 out of 10 times people don't want to do that. The government is just forcing them because the government is actually finding an excuse not to help people, just taking money from people. Because you see, if somebody lives with you, or if they don't, if you have extra room and you're on benefit, you're going to be taxed, something called bedroom tax, which is a form of evil. Some ministers are just so evil. We are all evil in our own right, but some ministers are more evil than others. That's some political parties are even more evil than others. How can you? The problem, part of the problem actually, the bedroom tax, which should be. If you are trying to help people, why do you even apply such a policy and pretend that you are helping people from the cost of living crisis? You have to scrap the policy. You have to increase the level of universal credit and stop taxing people because they have extra bedroom. And having extra bedroom, which is normally a council property, or if you think somebody is actually living in a house, you rehouse them. The council cannot rehouse people because they have no money. So these are all excuses by the government, which is actually rude and incompetent. So if you need permission from your landlord or a mortgage lender, also consider doing so, how any other extra income might affect the benefit you achieve. So if you are on benefit and you let out one of your rooms, the government will reduce your benefit. So do if you doom if you do, doom if you don't. I mean, if you don't let out your room, they will still tax your benefit through bedroom tax. So if you let out your room, it is no use, because your benefit will still be affected. If you're a taxpayer, the rent a room scheme allows you to earn $7,500 a year tax-free by renting out a room in your home. Well, increase the minimum wage. Taxpayer or no taxpayer, increase the minimum wage. Check out to join the rent a room scheme on gov.uk. So this is the government idea of efficiency saving, which is a total nonsense. Sure, you can look at something like better of calculation. Income from renting out a room could affect any means-tested benefit you may be getting. So if you are doing a benefit calculation, see if renting out a room would be worthwhile. Normally it is not. If you are over 55 and have personal pension, also consider what that may affect or may not affect. You might be able to take some money from your pension savings to help pay for essential costs or to pay off your debt. Now this is an attack on pension integrity. You can take money from your pension. Taking money from your pension will mean you will have less pension when you retire. If you're getting benefit, it could affect your claim. You should get financial advice before taking any money from your pension savings. You will have to pay, check out to find a financial advisor. They can tell you which option is best for you. You can also get free guidance on your pension options from PensionWise. They will explain the different options so you can decide which is best for you. And sure, you can do some of these things. You can check. You can check if you can reduce your regular living costs. Check your options for getting out of debt. We have discussed. This is about income maximization. This is some of the thinking of policymakers. These are some of the laws, including laws governing benefit, employment, income, and other form of expenses, deduction, taxation, NI, pension, and all these things. Government's idea of creativity and also is helpful, but I would say for the government is that this kind of advice is helpful, but it's futile because it's actually no-brainer if the level of income is low. See, the one thing government should do more than actually giving this kind of guidance is to increase the level of benefit to maybe £20,000 per annum or £30,000 per annum. And that increment should also be reflected in the minimum wage. We will discuss this in the other videos and in this one. And thank you so much for watching. Today we have done a lot of work. If you have watched up to now, you're a champion. And leave a comment below and let us keep on with the discussion. This discussion is flowing well. And subscribe to my channel, share with your family and friends, click notification bell, and also click like. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.